Good morning, students. Welcome to the subject of business organization and management. We are dealing with our third unit, that is on about controlling. In the previous sessions, we have already dealt with so many aspects of controlling, like introduction to control, the process of control, various types of control, or we can say the uses of control on different bases, right? And we have also discussed the advantages and limitations of control. In today's session, we are going to deal with different methods, different techniques through which the controlling can be placed. As you can see it on your screen, there are various techniques available and they can be bifurcated into traditional and modern techniques, and these techniques are often used by the organization to create a kind of control in the organization depending upon the different activities. That means what the activities are and what should be the type of control. Depending upon that, the techniques of controlling can be used, or we can say it can be selected and then it can be further used, right? So controlling is such a kind of process. By now we know that which checks the activities of the subordinates, it corrects the mistakes and controls any kind of deviations to achieve the objectives. So with the help of traditional and modern techniques of control, what happens is all the activities of the business unit can be supervised properly, and there can be overall control, which is very important so as to increase the efficiency of the whole organization. So as I told you earlier also, there are so many various techniques which helps to achieve the effective control over the units, right? Here we are going to discuss as many as 9 techniques, as you can see it here. Let us begin with number 1 there, and I'll in brief explain what techniques plays what kind of role. Alright, first of all, it is break-even analysis. This term is no new to you, right? It is such a kind of level. Break-even analysis is such a kind of level of sales quantity, wherein it is framing such a kind of level of sales quantity, and is found out at which level, or it is found out that at which level of the sales, that means in the form of quantity of the cost, is equal to its income. So it is a kind of finding break even point which shows the quality of the production at which there is no profit, no loss, right? So at this level, the cost and the income are almost equal, right? So even break even point states that level which represents no profit, no loss situation of the company. So break even point is important to fix the figures, that means the budget figures. Even break even point shows what should be the level of production at which there will be no profit and no loss. So with this, once the company reaches this level, that means it controls the activities and it allows the company to reach at no profit, no loss, and every single unit after this break even point will increase the profit. And if you do not control the activities, and if the units get lower, that means the sales get lower, then that shows that there will be reduction in the income, and that will lead to the loss beyond or below the point of break even, right? So with the help of this break even analysis, it's a very common and it's a very popular technique that is being used by generally the production units, right? So what happens is, at the break even point, the income is equal to the expenditure. So with this analysis, the sales level is decided, and that sales level is decided at which the cost equates the revenues. This helps the manager to prepare a kind of sales budget, and the manager prepares a break-even chart and set the standards for the sales for the company. That is how the break-even analysis becomes a controlling technique. Next, as you can see it here, are the budgetary controls, right? So budgetary control techniques are such techniques that here through budget, the master budget technique is the oldest version we have seen, or we know that, right? So budgets are prepared for the different departments and different work activities, say like sales budget, expense budget, etc. So on the basis of all these types of budget, a kind of master budget is prepared, and the various department manager approves the various budgets prepared. So the top level management first tries to understand the budget before approving it, and therefore the master budgets are prepared in most of the unit. So with the help of budget, planning becomes more easy and systematic, and with the help of budget we can come to know the actual results which can be compared, right? In this manner the manager can take note of so many situations, or he can take the overall total situation into consideration. So decision can be taken about the measures to be undertaken or the measures to be controlled. Thus budget is a tool of managerial control and is a very popular tool, and it is commonly used by almost all the types of organization. Budget is a kind of barometer, or it's a kind of the measuring rod with which a standard for the work accomplishment and the efficiency of the business which can be measured, right? So it's a very popular and it's a very used tool, common tool, which is used for controlling different types of activities in the organization. The third one that in the series comes up is about the profit and loss control technique. Now what happens is that a professional unit may be divided into so many departments, right? And this is such a tool of control which can be applied to the whole enterprise, and it encompasses the control over all the departments, and that can be maintained. So it shows how much share every department should contribute in the overall profitability of the unit, and thus it makes it possible to compare with the actual achievement. So what happens is that estimated profit and loss account is prepared on the basis of the income, right? And these estimated figures are accepted then as the parameters. They are used as the measuring rod, right? And to keep these resources effective, the department head also keeps a kind of control over the expense. So profit and loss is a kind of, again, a technique which can be used to keep the control over the expenditure and the incomes. Next comes up is return on investment. So here what happens is, how much is the proportion of the capital invested and what should be the proportionate return on the capital investment, that can be decided with the help of this technique, right? So what happens is that the efficiency can be traced out, and how much returns can be received compared with the other business can be known. So if return on investment is less, then what is to be done is that effective measures should be taken up to increase the return on investment, right? So it is very important to have this technique as a part of controlling system. So it can also be found out with the help of different ratios and different formula that can be used, say like net profit ratios can be found out, gross profit ratios, the return on capital employed can be used. And ultimately the purpose is that whatever the investment is made, are we getting the returns exactly according to it, or are we getting the proportionate return on whatever has been invested, is the purpose of using this technique. And that is why if not done, then the technique can be used as the controlling technique, and the measures then can be further controlled. So manager with the help of various ratios are able to know the rate of return on the investment. That is how the technique is being used. Coming up to the next is internal audit. See what happens is audit is kind of checking, right? So through audit it is possible to maintain a kind of control. Now audit laws can be compulsory and it can also be optional. So audit can be same way, internal also and external also. The compulsory audit as per the law is generally known as external audit, and the internal audit is generally done as per the internal standards of the employees, and the external employees can also be contracted sometimes to evaluate this process. So through this internal audit, a check can be kept on the internal financial activities of the business enterprise. So internal audit ensures that the expenses are logically done, rationally incurred, and as per the financial policies of the company. So nowhere the company is of the track while making any kind of expenditure, right? So whatever the expenses are incurred, they are rational enough and they are logical enough and they are required enough by the company, and that assurity can be done with the help of internal technique. So internal audit can be this way, the controlling technique. Coming up to the next is say the next one, Here twice the name has been used, internal audit. Instead, sixth one is accounting analysis managerial technique. Now what happens here is that this technique is useful for the managers to kind of exert effective control and take important decisions like accounting ratios, fund flow statement, maybe the estimated cash flow statement is made, estimated balance sheets are prepared, cost analysis is done, HR accounting systems are included, and like this the different techniques are used as the accounting techniques with which the managerial control can be had, right? Supposingly if we talk about accounting ratios, then with the help of finding out with the different ratios, the accounts are analyzed and even the profitability of the unit can be known. The return on investment, as we discussed just a couple of minutes back, that rate of profit on sales, ratio of the proportion of the debts and assets, etc., can be found out with such kind of ratios. So as a result of this analysis, the board of directors and maybe the external stakeholders can know the real financial position of the business. So ratio analysis is very useful to the managers in many of the ways, like the standard of profitability can be obtained with this, right? Even during the short period, what will be, how is the situation and what will be the financial crisis or the problems of the payment of the debt also can be known. Even the managers can make the measures for efficiently say controlling the current assets and the fixed equipments. Even with the help of such kind of ratios, the statistical calculations can be done. So it can facilitate comparison between one company with the other one, and these ratios can be made to use. So this is how finding out the different ratios helps the company to take the different measures wherever required. So it becomes a controlling technique. Next accounting technique or analysis can be with the help of funds flow statement. Now this funds flow statement is also a kind of unique form of accounting information. Now based on the financial statements and maybe the other accounting information, this fund flow statement is prepared. What happens with this, that through the funds flow where the capital has been used during the year is being found out, and the fund flow statement helps the manager to decide the financial policies in formulating say budget allocations of the finance for the developmental projects in the future, right? So again this technique is very helpful. Again the estimated funds flow statement is prepared and the standard statement stated therein are used. So the actual income of the capital and the application of the capital are compared, so that the managers can take the wise decision then after. Next technique under the same head is about the estimated balance sheet. Now during the starting of the year, the estimated balance sheet for the year is prepared. Now what would be the possible changes in the assets? How many new assets will be purchased? How much would be investment fluctuations? What would be the changes in the liabilities, etc., are calculated in advance and placed in the balance sheet. At the end of the year, then the actual balance sheet is prepared, right? And the figures are compared with the estimated balance sheet. So with this estimated balance sheet, if you can tally or if you can match, then that means the things were under control, and if not, the actual balance sheet has diverted a lot against the estimated balance sheet, then the required measures can then further be taken up, right? So that's the purpose. Next method is like estimated cash flow. Now what happens is during the year the estimated cash flow statement is prepared to estimate from which sources the cash can be generated, right? And from how the cash will be applied in the different areas. So based on the budget conditions, situations, and based on the past year, such an estimated cash flow statement is prepared. And during the year when there will be a surplus cash, when deficit cash can also be known with this. So when there is a cash crunch, from where cash can be obtained, at what conditions can be understood very well with this estimated cash flow, right? So the expenses are incurred based on the statement, and you can have a kind of controlling system then. Next comes up is cost control. Now to maintain the control on the cost price of the produced goods, various cost techniques are used very effectively. and at every process the cost is calculated, it is checked, and it is also compared with the actual cost figures. The durations are detected and then the corrective measures are taken up. Cost analysis helps to find out the real efficiency of the business unit, and the cost centers can be found out, and the effective control then can be maintained. So proper information is collected about, say, wastages, so that wastages can be controlled. To decide the selling price well before in advance, to sell somewhere in the bulks, to control the various services for multinationals, maybe for tenders, these decisions can be taken up easily with the help of cost control, and even it is used for effectiveness of the managerial control, right? So cost control is the main motive of all the organization, and that can be done with the help of this technique. Next comes up is HR accounting technique. Now what happens is, the basic philosophy of these human beings working in the most value is considered to be the most valuable asset, and it is the responsibility of the manager to acquire, to maintain, and to develop the human resources of the organization. So while the purchases of the smallest items or tools like tools and equipments are recorded in the books of accounts, but in the large amount of the money which is spent on developing and acquiring the resources, that is manpower resources of the organization, and that fact is not shown anywhere in the balance sheet or anywhere it is placed in the accounting terms, right? So if we want to provide a meaningful information about the state of affairs of the business, then some criteria should be developed and measured for human resources also, and that can be shown in the HR accounting system, right? So this is how this system helps to create a kind of different controls over the human resources, like and the activities related to it, like gaining the human resource, that is acquiring it, maintaining it, right, and usefulness of the human resource. Next comes up is seventh one in the series, as you can see it, that is computer based controlling. Now with the help of the modern technology like computers, the controlling becomes more effective. So what happens in modern times is, computers are seen in almost all the spheres, right? We all know this. So in big organization also, the accounts are maintained and the audit work is also completed with the help of this computer system. So as per this technique, what happens is, formal problems and issues are maybe prioritized, or the sequence is being framed, and as per the work procedure it can be seen whether the work is being carried out as per the program or as per the schedules or not. So these computer based techniques is also a helpful controlling technique. Next comes up is considered to be the PERT and CPM. The PERT and CPM are considered to be the engineering controlling technique, and the abbreviated form is of the program evaluation and review technique, which is known as PERT, and CPM is known as critical path method. Now what is this PERT method? What happens is, it is the program evaluation and review technique, as I told you, and it's a PERT is the short form of the whole name there. The technique is used since last 3 to 4 decades, and as an instrument of planning and controlling also. It was initialized somewhere in USA's airspace industry. Now PERT is used to achieve the predefined objectives within the least possible time. So PERT is such a kind of systematized method of planning and control for carrying out successfully any time bound program. So when time factor is very important, the PERT technique is being used. It includes specifying different activities of the program or project. It decides the order of the activities and prepares a kind of flow chart, and determines the time of every stage of program and the whole program as a whole systematized program. So after deciding the order and maybe making all the activities in the proper channel, or maybe charting it properly, evaluation of its progress is done over a period of time, and the progress is if the progress is not in coinciding the determined time, then necessary steps should be taken for the improvement, and like this it is a controlling technique, so that the complete work or projects can be completed in a given period of time. So time factor is very important, and where in the projects in which the time factor is very crucial, at that time such PERT technique can be used. And so to So this can be used to reduce the wastage of resources and the time. So PERT chart also provides the important parameters for summarizing and evaluating the implementation of the whole program, which is a time bound program. So this is known as the PERT technique. The connected technique to it is said to be CPM, right, which is known as the critical path method. Now this was first employed somewhere in USA in 1958. Alright, and it is applied in those projects where activity timings are relatively well known. So it is used for planning and controlling the most logical sequence of the activities for completing the project. So what happens is, under the CPM, project is analyzed into different operations or maybe small activities, and their relationship are determined and shown on the network diagram. The network or the flow plan is then used for using the resources to its best, and the time of CPM marks the critical activities in the project and concentrates on them. That means the longest path is considered to be critical path, and if you reduce that time period, or if you do not allow that longest path to even exceed longer, then that consideration is known as the CPM, or controlling the critical path, and for that purpose CPM is used, right. So it is based on the assumption that the expected time is actually the time taken to complete the project, and CPM is very suitable for the construction project and maybe the plant maintenance also. So CPM requires greater planning. Again, it includes a cost of planning also, right. But this increase in the cost is justified by concentrating this is justified by concentrating on the whole project, and CPM also provides a kind of standard method of communicating the project plans, right. So it is a kind of technique through which the critical path can be controlled, and it can then be evaluated further. Next comes up is said to be the types of budgets. Okay, there are so many different types of budget which we have seen, and those budgets can be used for different evaluation. So this is how the different techniques are used to take up the controlling. We are moving towards the next area, that is known as the preventive control and the direct control. Again here the whole thing has been divided into various parts, as you can see that the preventive control and direct control, how it helps. Suppose generally every event should prepare a kind of tailor-made controlling system in the organization. So what happens is, if considered in the complete organization, the controlling should be arranged as per the internal system, so that effectiveness of the management is maintained and the control process becomes less expensive, right. So here two types of control that can be used majorly in the organization. One is considered to be the preventive control, and the other one is direct control. So what is preventive control? Then we can say that preventive control starts with the planning itself. That means once you do the planning, the preventive control can be used. So we should have a kind of say, once the planning starts, then we have a kind of specific premise, strategies and effective parameters. At the same time we should have solid organization, effective delegations. So what is the main purpose of the preventive control system is that when the whatever the problems arises, beforehand we have the solutions for it, and we can prevent those problems from occurring itself. So when the employees themselves are having a good understanding, there is little possibility of problems being raised, and which makes the management very effective, and that is why this control system is generally used, which is known as preventive control system. It works on the fundamental that prevention is better than cure, that instead of the problems arising and then finding out the solution, beforehand measure is taken up, or maybe different solutions are found out to different problems, so that we can avoid them altogether, and that is what is known as preventive system, right. Next comes up is direct control system. Now what happens is, a top management or maybe the middle management and the bottom management generally uses this direct controlling system to have a control over their subordinates, and main methods of the direct control system is very popular, and we are all known to it, is said to be, say, number one, like direct supervision. What happens here is that a direct controlling system can be placed over the officers or maybe the supervisors, right? So the workers, right? So officers and supervisors are able to keep a kind of direct control over the working of the say the subordinates. By doing so, a control is kept on the activities of the employees, maybe their movements, work progress, quality of the goods, maintenance of the machinery, how they work, what is the time wastages, etc. So by getting the awareness of the factors and difficulties which may obstruct the work of the organization or work of the people, its quick solution can be found out. So direct supervision is one of the very popular direct controlling method. Next comes up is statistical data, right? So what happens here is, if by covering the different aspects of the business activities in the statistical form, it is analyzed, and if it is clear and systematic presentation are made, then it is also a very good controlling system. Such statistical data is historical or for the future presumptions also. If such details are presented in the tables or maybe the charts, then the trend can be prepared and it can be easily understood. So for large unit, this is very important direct method of controlling. Next comes up is said to be the policies, rules and procedures. So policies, rules and procedures, maybe the methods and programs are also used for controlling. Say policies maintain control by deciding the work area of the decisions. Rules directly gives the commands as to what can be done and what not to be done, right? Procedure decides what will be the sequence of the work. With the policies, rules and procedures, what happens is it can be immediately found out that there is any deviations or not in the work done by the people or the machine, and that is why it helps the it helps to have a kind of overall controlling system. Next comes up is accounting system. By maintaining different kind of accounts, control over, we have earlier seen, right? Control on the expenses is possible by maintaining different say accounting registers, or maybe cash register. Cash control can also be maintained, and by comparing the stock with the stock register, again the control can be placed on the stock. So like this, the accounting system also helps to have the direct control. Next comes up is internal audit. We have already seen. As this method of control is known as internal audit, it is extensively used in the big units. For the separate department, also many a times a separate department is created to take up with this activity. So which controls the overall functioning of the organization. Its functions includes like to have the overall view over the accounts of the day-to-day transactions, right? To find out the mistakes, to detect the accounting frauds, maybe any kind of cash embezzlement is there, any kind of fraud is created, those things can be detected, and then the various methods can be taken up to control such activities, right? So this is the only method which can be utilized for evaluating other types of the control also. So it is very important method. Next comes up is exemplary function of officer. See, what happens is the subordinates often follow the officer's speech or behavior, right? His way of working, his regularity, preciseness becomes a kind of example before the subordinates, and these may help to motivate the subordinates also, and at times it creates a kind of evaluating chart also, evaluating parameter also, that if the officer may have these many types of behavior, good behavior, or his punctuality, regularness, his honesty, hardworking nature affects the subordinates also to work in the same pattern, right? So consequently better outcomes of the disciplines can also be maintained. So this is a kind of control which is known as exemplary function. Exemplary means creating an example before the subordinates by the officer. Next comes up this creation of control department. Many a times in the big units a separate controlling department is also created, whose main function is to develop the controlling methods which are favorable for the business activities, and to keep a kind of control over them. So like this, the different preventive and direct control system may be used by the organization to create the control. So here we are ending up with this a controlling unit here, in which we have seen different aspects, starting from the controlling itself, with the controlling process, how the controlling is being done, right? What is the process of control and how it can be maintained, how it can be measured, things like that can be known, with the advantages, what are the advantages and the disadvantages of the control. We have seen what types of controls can be used. So in short, it is a very wide function and it is a very must function. It is a very crucial and inevitable function of any organization. So without controlling, none of the unit will have the effectiveness of the work, and that is why it is very important managerial function, and we have seen this in the lectures which were related to this controlling unit. So when we meet next, it will be the next unit that will be starting. Till then, it's a goodbye from my side. Thank you. Take care of yourselves.